This is OwlUp, where learning happens in minutes, not hours. For a deeper journey, explore all our courses at owlup.co. Now, let's dive in. Welcome back to Chapter 2 of our series, The Psychology of Networking. In this episode, titled The Role of Emotional Intelligence in Building Connections, we'll explore how understanding and managing our emotions, and those of others, can elevate our networking game. So, let's dive in and discover the power of emotional intelligence in forming meaningful connections. About 9 out of 10 top performers share one trait, and it's not raw talent or long hours. You're in a meeting. One colleague talks over people. Another seems to read the room effortlessly. Same agenda, same goals, yet only one leaves with new allies. Why does that happen? That difference you notice in the room isn't charisma or being extroverted. It's emotional intelligence at work, often in subtle, measurable ways. In one study across 62 teams, those with emotionally intelligent leaders didn't just get along better, they outperformed others by up to 20% on key metrics like project delivery and client satisfaction. Google's Project Aristotle, analyzing more than 180 teams, found that psychological safety, shaped directly by leaders' self-awareness, empathy, and social skill, was the single strongest predictor of performance. And when PepsiCo compared leaders with strong EI to their peers, the high EI group generated roughly $3.75 million more in economic value per year. These aren't soft bonuses, they're hard results, created by people who know how to manage emotions, starting with their own. In practical terms, EI shapes whether people want to keep working with you after the first interaction. In sales, reps who consistently label and respond to client emotions close up to 20 to 30% more deals than those who only push features and price. In a 2019 survey of 2,000 employees, 58% said they had left a job because of poor relationships with their manager, while teams that rated their leaders high on emotional attunement reported engagement scores up to 40% higher. Strong networks form where people feel seen, heard, and respected, and EI is the skill set that reliably creates that experience. Think of EI in networking as 3 practical shifts: what you notice, how you interpret it, and what you do next. First, what you notice. Most professionals track tasks and timelines. High EI connectors track emotional data with similar precision. In a 2020 workplace survey, employees who felt their manager regularly noticed their stress were 45% more likely to describe the relationship as trusting. In conversation, that means catching microsignals, the pause before someone answers, the sudden drop in eye contact, the tighter tone when a topic appears. These are early warning indicators that the relationship needs care, not more information. Second, how you interpret. Low EI responses often sound like, "they're cold," "they don't care," or "they're overreacting." High EI professionals ask, what might be driving this reaction? Research on attribution bias shows we overestimate personality and underestimate context. When a client sends a sharp email, the high EI response isn't to mirror the edge. It's to mentally list at least 2 situational explanations before replying. That tiny cognitive habit reduces defensive replies and preserves long-term goodwill. Third, what you do next. Connection is built in the repair attempts, the small moves you make to realign when tension or distance appears. In one longitudinal study of manager-employee pairs, relationships where managers made explicit repair attempts after conflict, brief check-ins, owning their part, clarifying intentions, were 30 to 40% more likely to stay productive a year later. In networking, this looks like sending a concise follow-up after a bumpy meeting, or naming the tension without blame. Our last discussion felt rushed. I'd like to reset and understand your priorities better. At scale, these micro-skills compound. A leader who consistently notices, interprets generously, and repairs proactively becomes a magnet in internal and external networks. People route opportunities toward the person who leaves them feeling respected, even under pressure. Over dozens of interactions, that reputation quietly converts into referrals, promotions, and collaborations that raw competence alone rarely secures. At a conference, two product leads meet the same investor. Both have strong traction, $2 million in annual revenue, 30% month-over-month user growth. One launches straight into a 10-minute pitch. The other starts with, "Before I dive in, what's most useful for you to understand about us in the next 5 minutes?" The investor leans in, names two concerns, and the conversation becomes a targeted problem-solving session. 6 months later, the second founder has a follow-up meeting and a warm intro to a strategic partner. The first is forgotten. You see similar patterns inside companies. A manager who begins one-to-ones with "What's on your mind today?" and waits a full 3 seconds before jumping in often discovers issues weeks earlier: missed handoffs, quiet burnout, small conflicts. Over a quarter, that can mean saving a key hire from quitting, or preventing a $250,000 client from churning because tension was surfaced and addressed while it was still fixable. As EI becomes measurable at scale, you'll see it wired into opportunity flows. Large firms already scrape collaboration tools to flag relational hubs, people whose messages trigger faster replies and fewer escalations, and steer high-value projects their way. In client roles, expect dashboards that track response tone, not just time. To stay relevant, treat every interaction as data. What behaviors led to deeper access, follow-on work, or a second meeting? Your challenge this week: in your next 5 professional conversations, log 3 data points afterward. Energy, -2 to +2, trust, 1 - 10, and clarity, 1 - 10. After all 5, identify one behavior that consistently raises scores by at least 2 points. Turn that into a deliberate habit in your next 10 interactions, and watch which opportunities start coming your way. This was OwlUp, your daily step forward. To keep learning with structured courses and more insights, go to owlup.co. Until tomorrow!